capacity.
Now, let me read out a comment from JSW Group. This is in reaction to Atmanirbhar Bharat, and I quote the part of a press release here. A lot of my friends and industrialists are upset as their business with China is important to maintain healthy margins and continuity. But this situation has come because of a complacency in blindly accepting cheaper imports from China rather than developing our own domestic vendors. This is an opportunity for all of us to come together and push for a stronger Atmanirbhar Bharat. So what is the pledge you've taken, and how are you planning to reduce the dependence of JSW Group on imports?
Yeah. So basically, I am a believer in free trade. I believe that India should not obstruct or should not stop imports from various countries in the world. Similarly, we must export wherever we want to export. So there should not be any control on imports and exports. But when it comes to China, which has not behaved properly with India in the past few months, and where we have had skirmish on our borders and where we share a very long border, so we have to have a very clear vision that India must develop its own industry. Now it happens that many companies, for example, the pharmaceutical companies, what I believe, depends largely on Chinese imports. Otherwise, they cannot make medicine in India. Now, this is a very serious matter, and Indian pharmaceutical companies must prepare their own plan and their own strategy that they must produce these products in India. Because we cannot rely upon Chinese supplies to make our own medicines. So therefore, we cannot, it's a very short-term goal. It's a very short-term sort of situation where people try and buy cheaper. For example, the furniture industry. Now, Indian furniture industry is practically not non-existent. Because the Chinese are supplying very good furniture at very low prices. So they have really killed the Indian furniture industry, and there are no entrepreneurs, or there are very little capacity of furniture manufacturing. Similarly, we as steel industry, we buy refractory for our steel making. Refractory is one of the important ingredients, one of the more consumable, which goes into manufacturing steel. Earlier, we were buying 90% refractories from within India. Today, we buy 10% within India and 90% comes from China. Now, this is because the Chinese government decided that they will not export the raw material that is needed to manufacture refractory. And therefore, they put a clamp down, and all the refractory companies went into China to manufacture refractories in China. And they export the value-added refractory fully finished into the world. And India is also part of that, and so we import from China. Today, we realize that the way the Chinese are behaving, it is not correct for us to rely upon the Chinese supplies, and we have to depend either make in India or from some other countries. So that is exactly what today we are working to see, that our reliance on China has to come down to nil as soon as possible.
But this migration, do you think this could come at a cost where you may be forced to compromise both in terms of near-term hiccups and also quality? Because managing a steel plant is also managing a complex supply chain, logistics, and also quality parameters.
No, for sure. I think if there was no pain, then people would have shifted much earlier, because everybody wants to move to the domestic supplies so that you have less lead time and everything. But for sure, Indian supplies are going to be more expensive, may not be qualitatively as good to start with. But once we decide that we are going to support Indian supplier or a supplier in Brazil or in Turkey or some other parts of the world, then we will really focus on improving their quality, bringing down their cost of operations. Because once we give them the volume, then automatically they will be able to bring down their cost and they can improve their quality. And we will work shoulder to shoulder with them, with our Indian producers as well as what we import from third countries. We will make sure that the quality improves and the cost-wise also it's good. But to start with, there will be some pain, which we as Indians must be willing to accept, because we want to send a message loud and clear that if you mess with us, then we are not going to do business with you.
So as we speak, have you put this process already in motion? Have you already instructed your office and your colleagues that they should start withdrawing back from China?
Absolutely. We have very clear instruction given to across the group. We have given clear instruction that we are not going to import any material directly from China, which is close to $400 million. And indirectly also, for example, when we buy equipments, most of the equipments are manufactured in China, but supplied by the Japanese or by the Koreans or by the Germans. All of them have their shops in China. Now, we have been, as JSW Group, we have been putting a lot of pressure on these equipment manufacturers to manufacture those equipments in India. And now, thanks to our efforts as well as efforts by the government, all of these large original equipment manufacturers have set up shops in India. But because Chinese are much cheaper compared to Indian equipment manufacturing, still the equipments come from China. So now we have put a condition that we will not allow the Chinese equipments manufactured in China, German equipments manufactured in China to come into India. Into JSW Steel, you better manufacture them in India. Even if they are a little bit more expensive, we are willing to pay that the extra price. So this is the only way, I think, unless the whole industry, the whole country thinks like that, it's very difficult for us to really put a stop to the Chinese aggression and the way the Chinese think and the Chinese are behaving. So I'm very clear that we have to the whole industry has to come together. All the traders have to come together. They have to forget about their self-interest for the time being, and they have to support our armies and our government to put a stop to this. And automatically this will go a long way in developing Indian industry. We are by doing this we are achieving actually two goals. One is that we are sending a very strong signal to the world that anybody who messes with India, then Indian economy is very large, and we are not going to support that country. Like Malaysia created some problems, and we stopped imports of their edible oil. The government took that decision because the traders were still importing. So the government of India had to take that step that, because Malaysia being a small country, we can do whatever we want. But China, probably the government can't do that aggressively. So therefore, the industry or the traders, the importers, they must step out. They must come out to support our country, support our armies, and send the signal to the world that if you mess with us, we are not going to do business with you. And second advantage of this is that we will, in the bargain, we will develop the Indian industry. For example, today, what I understand is about 40 to 50% of auto components, they are sourced out of China because China has become the factory of the world. So they are making everything very cheap because they have the scale operations of, they have a huge scale of operation, and thereby they really make it very cheap. And plus the government of China really supports the exporters, and they give them very cheap money and they employ a lot of people. So therefore there is a complete different concept of manufacturing in China. Now, once Indian industry understands and they say that, okay, we want to develop alternate source, then Indian industry will get developed, and we could become the factory of the world because we don't have anything, we don't lack anything which the Chinese have. So therefore, India can really do the same, and we can be the factory of the world, and we can make all these components and pharmaceutical raw materials, everything, bulk drugs, we can be very good at it.
Can India be truly, or can Indian steel sector be truly self-reliant? Because you will still have to import coal, and the reason why you have to import coal is because the coal availability in India at least the quality of coal availability in India is not something which will even pass your standards.
No, that's correct. I mean, no country, or even China cannot do without importing iron ore. China imports close to, I don't know, I think 1.2 billion tons of iron ore or 1.3 billion tons of iron ore a year. So every country, the nature has given one raw material and the other raw material you have to import. So Indian steel, we don't have high quality or good quality of coal for manufacturing steel, metallurgical coal. So we have to import. So, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you cannot be self-reliant on 100% on everything. So, but manufactured products, for importing manufactured products is not a great idea. We should develop our own industry. And we must, for example, in India, we don't have any manufacturing plant for microchips. That's why we don't have any digital industry in India. There is no industry which is into manufacturing of computers or mobile phones or televisions. I mean, they are all, whatever we have, they are all assembly. So this is an opportunity where we have to develop these products. We have to set up R&D for making the whatever you call them, these digital products. Because I think the largest imports is digital products and electronic products, and then is oil. So oil, again, we don't have enough oil. We have only maybe 15% of our requirement. So therefore, we have to import oil. We have to import coal. But the digital things we can produce in India. We can make, because it is not given by nature. You have to produce it. Oil and coal is given by nature, so therefore it's specific to the geography there or geology of that country. We have, but manufacturing of computer chips or microchips, these things we have to think. India has to think how to develop it, because the world is going digital, and these are things which is very important.
If I talk about specifically manufacturing sector, Mr. Jindal, there are two outliers. One is auto industry. It's a very complex industry, but Indian auto companies are big exporters, especially in two-wheelers. Indian pharma industry, a complex industry which involves imports from API from China, processing it here, and yet we are globally competitive. Why is that Indian manufacturing sector, at least at entry level, has not been very competitive? Is it land? Is it government policy? Is it skill? Is it interest rates?
No, I mean, these all issues, whatever you have named, there are issues. But if we say that in China there are no issues, I wouldn't agree with that. So therefore, we have issues of land, we have issues of labor, we have issues of acquiring, getting the finance, because the cost of finance is very high. But then we have a lot of advantages. We have a huge market. We have 1.35 billion people living in this country, which gives us a huge market. So therefore, we can go on tom-tomming that we are not getting land. But you know why? Because we want land in Gurgaon. The auto industry will say, I want to set up a plant in Chennai. I want to set up a plant in Bangalore. But you don't have to do that. I mean, if you want to get land, you can get land maybe 100 kilometers from Bangalore or 100 kilometers from Delhi, where you can get any amount of land. There's no problem. So and finance, yes, it is expensive in India, but you can borrow in dollars. You will get international rates of finance in dollars. Then you have to create your own imports and exports. You create a dollarized balance sheet. So if you want to do it, if you are steadfast in your thought process, if you decide that you really want to make Atmanirbhar Bharat, then these are all excuses, and then you just have to go out there and you have to say that I will make the bulk truck, and I will not bring the raw materials from China. I will bring it from some other parts of the world if they are not available in India, and manufacture the bulk trucks in India and finished products. And in the bargain, if you need some support from the government, I am 100% sure that this government will definitely support the people or the companies who want to create alternate to China.
But can we do what Chinese big players have done, Mr. Jindal? They sometimes have been slightly irrational about pricing because capacities were mothballed there. They were dumping a lot of steel in global markets. You're a listed company. You are answerable to your shareholders. You also have global investors, which means you'll have to protect your margins, even your return ratios. How does one compete? Because you'll have to do what is logical and what commercially makes sense, and you're competing sometimes against Chinese manufacturers which are out there to just grab volumes.
So, the Chinese were doing that. They were getting highly subsidized by their country or their governments. State governments in that country were subsidizing heavily the Chinese steel industry, and they were exporting over 100 million tons globally, which now has dropped to half of that, less than half of that. So then what happened when Chinese started to do that, then every country in the world which had their own steel industry, they put anti-dumping or high tariffs on the Chinese imports. So therefore they cut their own feet, and therefore now Chinese exports have really dwindled as far as steel is concerned, because they were not market driven. And the whole world realized that they were not market driven, and they are grossly subsidizing their own products. So every country has put anti-dumping. So if you see right from Brazil, Argentina, to United States, to Canada, to Japan, Korea, everybody has put restrictions. India, everybody's put higher tariffs on Chinese products or restrictions on the Chinese supplies.
Mr. Jindal, each crisis always creates an opportunity, and that is what you've also managed to do with the JSW Group. Each time you saw an opportunity, you were able to create capacity, enjoy the arbitrage, and build best manufacturing capacities. How will the COVID crisis change your capital allocation policy? Things which you were, let's say, overlooking earlier. What are the corners you would be cutting? What are the automation processes which you would be adopting now?
No, it's a very important point, Nikunj. Right now, that's what is keeping me busy, is how to digitalize the company, how to automate the process, because steel industry is as heavy as any industry can get to. So it's the heaviest industry in the world, and also it is highly manpower intensive industry. But given today's environment, given today's times, with artificial intelligence, machine learning, digitalization, a lot of things can be done. And as they say, as you rightly said, that never waste a crisis. So, because every crisis brings an opportunity. So we are also not letting it go by just like that. And we are working to really modernize our facilities. Our facilities are probably the most modern facilities in the world. But we are now looking at, Industry 4.0, where we are trying to make it absolutely state-of-the-art as far as processes are concerned. So through machine learning, where there were 4 people, we are trying to make it autonomous. For example, our locos, which are moving hot metal from the blast furnaces to the steel mill shop, there are 2 people in the loco. We are reducing 1 person, and then we are going to make them autonomous. So that loco will start from point A and will automatically stop at point B without any man interface. So many things like that we are doing, and we are really going to modernize our facilities through digitalization and through machine learning. And that work is going on at a very high pace right now as we speak.
Mr. Jindal, now the selling price of steel is a function of international prices which are dollar denominated. Your raw material is something which is a function of commodity cycle. But like you said, what is in your hand is costs of production, automation, and labor cost control. So could you broadly tell us that directionally where that is headed now? I mean, what could be the extent of cost cutting savings which in next 2 to 3 years would be visible?
So, we are constantly working on cost cutting and improving the processes so that we can reduce the cost of operation and reduce the carbon footprint by improving our operations. So all those things are now showing very good results. I think Indian steel producers or Indian steel is probably most competitive in the world. maybe even much more competitive we are compared to China. Because we have our own iron ore. That's a very, very big strength that the Indian steel industry has. Plus, we have very high quality of skilled manpower, and we have a huge home market. So these three factors give us a huge advantage. And by building very modern and very state-of-the-art steel plants, our costs are probably the lowest in the world. So these four factors have really helped Indian steel industry to become the most competitive steel industry or most profitable steel industry in the world. So I think going forward, India should be the steel producer of the world, not China.
Well, it's a great point. So, last question, Mr. Jindal. The lockdown has been challenging for all of us. But personally for you, what has been your most joyful moment in this lockdown? What has been your most tense moment in this lockdown? You know, we all know that you love to play sports, you play squash, you are a marathon runner. So how did you keep yourself engaged, fit and also active?
It's a nice, interesting question, Nikunj. You know, I enjoy sports, I enjoy outdoors, and I enjoy to be in my factories, in my plants, because I am a shop floor man. I love to be on the shop floor with my employees, with my workers. And I really, really relish that because that's how I grew up when I was growing up. So I spent a lot of time during this lockdown in Vijayanagar, in our largest plant. And we have a very nice sports facility there. We have Olympic school there where all the Olympic athletes are getting trained. So I was training with them and we were playing football with our football team there from Bengaluru FC. Sunil Chetri and everybody are there. And so I had the best time of my life there. And my whole family was with me there. You know, when the flights were not working, we all drove 800 kilometers to get to Vijayanagar, and when I had to come to Bombay for some work or some function, then came driving back. But you know, because I enjoy driving, flying was not permitted, so we were driving. So it was a really, really fabulous time. We really enjoyed. The most stressful time was that my two brothers, both my elder brother and my younger brother, they got stuck in overseas and they could not come back to India because the flights were cancelled, and there was no permission to come back from foreign countries. So there was a huge pressure, and I tried a lot to bring them back, but it took a long time. Finally, they could come back. I think early June they came back, and that was a very stressful moment because we are very close, and my two brothers got stuck, and finally they came back, and so that was a big relief.
I'm tempted to ask you one more question. I am extending my appointment with you, and since we spoke about sports, IPL, any regrets? This season is a washout?
I think what I'm hearing is, of course, IPL is very exciting and we all look forward to IPL. But what I'm hearing that probably it will shift to the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the IPL will happen there. This is what I'm hearing. I'm not sure. So probably in October, November, we are going to see IPL from there.
Right. Well, Mr. Jindal, really appreciate your time. Thank you for patiently answering all our questions on behalf of everyone from ET Now. Stay safe, sir. And thank you for very candidly expressing your thoughts.
Thank you, Nikunj. Stay safe, you too. Bye.
सब कुछ होने पर भी अपना हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं कराओगे? आज ही सही डिसीजन लो। मैक्स कूपर हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस के साथ 30 लाख तक का कवरेज सिर्फ 606 रुपीस पर मंथ में। अब नहीं खरीदोगे तो कब?